Evening all. Here is another interesting Magnus Carlsen game. He was about 11 years old with a FIDE rating of 2148, playing against someone called Tor Gulbrandsen. So it was in 2002 this game. I think it was in the Team Division 1. Astlandserien, Division 1, Division 2. Or was it 2001, 2002, pardon me, Division 1. So Magnus kicked off with E4. And we saw it from Tor. And we saw Magnus play a Tarrasch with knight D2. After knight F6, E5. And now Magnus just played knight G-F3. And this leads to a very interesting dynamic gambit actually, because white's D4 is going to be under huge pressure. After C3, knight C6, Magnus plays bishop D3. Okay, and after queen B6, the idea is not to capture away from the centre, but to actually make this into a gambit. So white castles here, offering D4. But it's going to be at some cost to black. The black queen is going to lose time here. And also, after c takes d4, we see this c file could be used by white, targeting perhaps that bishop on c8 if black's not careful. But black takes anyway. He takes on d4, accepting the gambit. So knight f3, which not only attacks the queen but protects e5. The queen goes back. And I think this is actually all fairly standard theory here. And this is a very, very good move, queen a4. The queen has no direct access to g4 here because that knight's in the way. But this move, queen a4, means that the queen can swing across like this. So potentially dangerous squares, f4 and g4. It's also temporarily, of course, pinning the knight. We see black's standard response, I believe, queen b4, and we see queen c2 and a kind of queen dance now, queen c5. And Magnus has to make a compromise now. His queen is not going to reach g4 with black's persistence here, but this queen might be a tactical target. So queen e2. Okay, it is overprotecting e5 though, and the queen is a target, potentially. After bishop e7, in fact bishop e3 gaining a tempo. Queen a5, and black is not allowed to castle here. Magnus plays bishop g5, so if black castles, e7 will be taken. You see the passive retreat now, queen d8. Now queen e3 just supporting that bishop. And perhaps this is a mistake. Sometimes to take is a mistake, as it increases the development of the opponent, makes it easier for them. Perhaps black should have considered a move like h6 here. He plays actually bishop takes g5, and after knight takes g5, black clearly cannot castle because h7 will be on. Black tries to play this a bit cheekily with the move queen e7, as though maybe there's going to be some sort of tactical backfire on this h file, maybe h2. But Magnus is not having any of that. He's just going to make use of that c file now. So rook ac1 with some annoying pressure, and in fact black now tries to kick the knight with h6, but there's a rude awakening here in the position. In this position, I wonder if you can spot it if I give you 10 seconds starting from now. Okay, it's not to do with the knight sack. It's queen takes a7. Bit of a shocker. Bit of a shocker indeed. Attacking the rook clearly, and the rook is defending c8, so it's like distracting the defender, a deflection. Okay, black tries in this position rook b8. If he does take the queen, well, it doesn't look too pleasant. After basic forcing move, rook takes c8. Now here it looks as though rook takes and then knight takes f7, and that's a lot of material for white, being a piece up there. So black tried rook b8, and now Magnus carries on, just removing the defender. Can you guess it? I hope so. queen takes b8. So he really is getting this continuation. With a little bit of a difference though here, that the king will have d7 to run to now, at least, which is a small consolation prize. After king d7, black's pieces are dropping off the board. Rook takes h8, so, and still attacking the knight. So that means if this is taking on, there's two rooks and a bishop versus the queen, which is perhaps more than enough, especially given that rook takes b8 and bishop b5 look good as well. So black here tries knight c6, and the knight now retreats back to f3. It's still big material advantage for white. Two rooks and the bishop easily outweigh the queen. Black tries f6, and now bishop b5, f takes. Now getting rid of black's knight, for knight takes e5. After king d6, just protecting the knight. King c7 is played, and now g3. Okay, black tries now queen b4, attacking e1 and b2. Just rook e2 now. Will the material tell? It should do. It's quite significantly more powerful than the queen to have two rooks and the knight. But black has a passed pawn. He pushes it d4, but it's put in check basically to stop d3 here very elegantly with this next move by Magnus, which is rook d8. So here, if king takes d8, then knight takes c6 check. Okay. Tor tries queen b5, hitting the knight and the rook. Now we see rook d7 check. After king c8, rook e4. Okay. And now black is faced with losing the pawn to rook takes d4. So he tries to protect the pawn. Okay, but now this next move is really crushing. Rook f4, threatening mate with rook f8. It's all over. It's very difficult to defend that. Black tries queen takes d7. He's clearly a rook down, and he resigns here. So Magnus is definitely playing above his weight, which is at this time 2148 when he's about 11. And this looks like an elegant and sweet game, quite efficient. Let's have a look at it again, maybe with engine checking, just to maybe check out the gambit. Excuse the smaller font on this laptop. I'm trying to show you the engine analysis. I hope you can see it, a little bit of it. First line. So the gambit, in case you want to try and play this gambit, it looks like quite a good advert for it. Okay, so bishop d3, we saw off the castles. The engine doesn't seem to mind this gambit much, gives white a small plus still. So queen a4, we see queen b4 and queen dance. Now this here is interesting. Knight c5 is mentioned, queen c5, okay, queen e2, as though white is still liked a lot. And now bishop e3, as if even there's a small advantage on this brief analysis to white now. Bishop g5, which seems logical to prevent castling, but apparently is not technically maybe the best move, but it did seem to have very practical value in the game. I believe the follow-up the engine is looking at is the immediate h6, which wasn't played. This immediate h6 was not played. So given that, rook ac1, for example, black potentially castle, for example, and white would still have some annoying pressure maybe. Maybe, what is this about? Bishop b1, this looks nice for tactical pressure. This is just engine line now. Why would knight h7 be winning the exchange? What if the rook did move? Is that totally devastating? Bishop d2 hits. Okay, we're in an engine line. It's interesting anyway. So in the game, the practical move bishop g5 was played instead of rook ac1. So basically black had the opportunity to take and then immediately play h6. This looks okay, but you might think, well, what about queen h5? Isn't that dangerous? Here actually, knight takes e5, defends f7. Okay, and black should be okay. g6. Bishop d7, maybe try and castle queenside. Queen f4. King e7 actually connects rooks and attacks g5 here. Now here either f6 or hg. So that should be okay for black with some accurate moves. But okay, so black played actually queen d8. Now white's in the driving seat again. He plays queen e3 when actually bishop e7 was actually technically more accurate apparently than bishop takes e7. Because the move b6 is given. Trying to do something about that c8 bishop immediately. So if we had rook ac1, maybe knight c5, and it's much better than the game continuation. About equal though. So, but in the game we saw bishop takes g5, which is increasing white's development. So taking is maybe a mistake here. Unraveling white's pieces, that the knight and bishop are now coordinating. In fact, to do with h7, g6 is now recommended as a move here. But the opponent played queen e7. And there's a tactical liability really set up. The c8 bishop, rook ac1 with that hidden threat now on a7 just to deflect the rook from the protection of c8. It's looking a bit scary now in the position. So after h6 the engine pounces as well, improving of Magnus's move. Queen takes a7 immediately, finding that it's perhaps not too hard to find, but it was a good position Magnus got in from the opening. Good choice of opening. So rook b8, and we saw queen takes b8, incisive, winning the material. Lots and lots of material. Knight c6 might be the best chance, but still, this is now material up for white, very clear. And okay, so we have +4, +5 nearly. Now rook d8 is also incisive and is mentioned by the engine here. Rook d8. So Magnus didn't become complacent or anything by playing rook d8. It's a nice tactical move to stop the pawn. And then again check, and this maneuver here is very good. Rook e4 because it's coming in to the king side. Okay, especially after the knight is not attacked with black's next move c5. Gives white an extra bit of time to play rook f4 without the knight dropping. So rook f4, crushing. Okay. A sweet game, I think. You'll agree. Okay, comments or questions on YouTube. So Magnus, when he was about just 11 years old in Division 1,